Good evening, everyone. We're back for round 2 today. I'm going to change this sweet little man. This is Silas, Michael Silas, and I call him Pope sometimes, just because I love the name. And this sweet guy is the Will Sculpt by Natalie Scholl. And he was reborn by Tiny Gifts Nursery, Helena Z. So I'm going to change him into some little baby whites and chat with you guys. I've been sort of going over some things in my head relating to some of the ways I've let my mind get kind of twisted up by anxiety and different sets of emotions lately, and how it's a constant returning to how I've chosen to view life and operate in life. And I guess he's heavy. I guess, how can I sum it up? I guess I believe is even a heavy word for me. That life is just a journey and it's an experience. This life here, it's not the beginning or the end. And that we're in the shadows of the tripod here. Okay. So I adjusted the camera a little bit. I hope that helps. But that all of like sort of the light and dark and the good and bad and the triumph and tragedy and the pain and pleasure and the beauty and the ugly are all sort of like sisters in this experience. Certain philosophies or traditions, I think, I want to say Zen Buddhism, but I'm not schooled enough to know for sure. But I believe, based on my recollection of my studies, that is part of that the dualistic nature of nature, exists within this framework, and to reserve judgment of those two sides and take everything as an integrated part of this experience, and true reality with a capital R sort of exists above and encompasses all of that and exists outside of the split, the yin and the yang. So that's sort of like the backdrop. And I've come to believe, again, there's that word, that the experiences in my life I've chosen and I've drawn to myself, and I don't know whether I selected a lot of the experiences before I was born or if that happens or not. There's certainly been a lot of writings on people's experiences that would indicate that there's sort of like a pre-planning phase in between experiences, but I also know that could be totally untrue, because how would I know? Now, I don't, if I knew, I've chosen to forget now. But anyway, that I'm not a victim of my circumstance, and things aren't just happening to me, without my involvement. Whether I am choosing to consciously partake in what I draw in or not is up to me, especially now that I believe I'm aware of that. Then, it's my choice. And also, I believe that I really am trying to learn be impeccable with your word. I remember the first two of the 4 agreements from Luis Miguel Rodriguez. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. But the 4 agreements, some of you may have read that book or heard of the 4 agreements before. But to be impeccable with your word and to not take anything personally. And that is a whole topic in and of itself that I could go into in another time if people were interested, or you can Google it, because I obviously can't remember the other 2 agreements, so I'm not an expert at much of anything. But and then there's another list of 4 things. Okay, so back up just a smidge. So my whole part of what I've worked really hard towards, and when I say work really hard towards, it's the working really hard and fighting towards something is an illusion, because really it's a letting go and a simple turning, but there's a resistance to it. And so when I say work really hard, it's working really hard to let go of clinging to stories and clinging to old ways. But I've worked really hard, I'll say, not to be reactive and to not take things personally. And a lot of that work was done in my relationship. We've really helped each other to grow and all of that stuff. But when you say something's a practice, like yoga is a practice, like meditation is a practice, prayer is a practice, any kind of sport or learning a new skill is practice. And I feel like you never really master something. It's a lifelong practice, and this is no different. So if you're practicing something, it takes conscious awareness all the time. And so, and I've spent a very long part of my life being more, I guess I would say, the norm of what we see, which is reactive, feelings hurt, defensive, feeling like circumstances happen, feeling put upon, or more poor me, or fight against what I don't want, all of that stuff. So when those habits have been practiced for many, many more years, it doesn't happen overnight. And again, you fall away, you come back, you fall away, you come back. And while I don't feel like I've been flailing myself around by a lot of people's standards, I'm sure, in being a certain way, I know that I've gotten myself tangled up emotionally, and a mix of emotions, like a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of anger, a little bit of injustice, a little bit of defensiveness, a little bit of guilt, a little bit of righteousness, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of compulsion or obligation, I guess I would say. And I don't think life is, I just talked about light and dark, but I don't think that life is black and white, or most things are, almost anything is. I think we operate in the gray. I consider myself a little bit of a gray Jedi. You can read about the gray Jedi. It's pretty interesting. It's a lofty ideal for myself, but I'd like to aspire towards that. Or if I were to have, some kind of a superhero identity, I would like to be a gray Jedi. But I do think that a lot of things operate in the gray, and I think that there's truth in almost anything. And so I think that I can be correct in assertions. My thing is, do I feel in alignment with what I think develops me in a larger scale or a bigger picture with what I think truth is? And I think that truth is, for me, everything that I just listed up until now. So I think that discord or disappointment in myself just comes from I think when you step out of the flow of well-being, when you step off of the high vibrational disc, you feel agita or anxiety or resistance. And that's, again, it's not this hard work to get out of it. It's just of where's the focus? Where's my focus? And I know what I want to achieve, and I know who I am. So for me, it's glaring when I feel that way. And I definitely feel like I have allowed my thoughts to go to places that tangle me up a little bit more on a negative side than that happens. For example, at work, I work with a guy who I don't think has the greatest intentions for those around him, and I think is kind of cutthroat and kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, and stirs things up, and he's caused friction, things like that. And it got to me a little bit, not so much to throw me off of doing my thing, but to where, like, I talked about it with my coworker. I feel like he's an interruption. I become like mildly distracted by it as something that is a hindrance, instead of just allowing and not judging his existence there to be what it is and to not take it personally. So that's one example. I know it's vague, but I mean, I'm sure you can relate your own stories to it. As an empathetic person, and as a person who sees things in gray most of the time, I tend to be able to feel multiple sides of emotion at the same time. And so that can cause conflict for me. I also know that I myself am not perfect, and so this goes way back to high school. I mean, I even remember telling my high school, like to have a guidance counselor or a therapist. I was going through the teen depression, and I knew that's what it was teen depression. And I would go in and I would talk to her about the things that I thought my mom, was what was going on and what was a problem for me. But then, and she would, kind of try and work through it. And I'd be like, listen, this is what it is. I don't blame her. Her mother was this way. Her mother's mother was this way. So this is why her dad was like this. She was like that. That's why it's translating into this behavior with me. And so why I don't like it, like, I understand where it comes from, and I don't blame her. Even in the throes of like wanting to run away, I could see that stuff. So anyway, so my mind came back, and I'm not sure how applicable it is. Oh, so the other 4 things I was going to say, it seems that this has died. Okay, here we go. The other 4 things I was going to say is, always, I forget who says this also, I can probably look that up. Okay. I think this is something that maybe has been... Okay, it's not 4 things, it's 3 things, and it comes from mindfulness. Maybe it can be 3 or 4. All right. So we'll go with the 3 since a lot of us aren't practicing the silence in meditation, or maybe we are and I just am not. But the 3 gates of speech, philosophical percolations. So before you speak, ask yourself, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? And I would say the 4th one, that's a little tweak on this one, is it beneficial? Does it improve anything? So, but is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? So I was thinking about that, and then I was also thinking, and I don't know if Tracy will see this, but the Ho Oponopono prayer, which is a Hawaiian prayer. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer made of 4 powerful phrases. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And my friends taught me this prayer and used to practice it a lot in our circle. And it's not just to a person or a situation, but it's to all people of all time, of all the earth, your ancestors, your current relations, the planet, all of that. It promotes taking responsibility for everything in one's life and the whole world. It's a powerful forgiveness and letting go of the most challenging of life experiences. When it comes to letting go of karmic attachments and energetic cords, Ho Oponopono works as it clears and integrates the energy. It's a balancing and coordinating vibration promoting both reconciliation and forgiveness. Ho Oponopono means to make right. It brings balance to the self and all relationships, even with one's ancestors. Quote by Morna Nalamaku Simeona, a Hawaiian kahuna lapau. If we can accept that we are the sum total of all past thoughts, emotions, words, deeds, and actions, and that our present lives and choices are colored or shaded by this memory bank of the past, then we begin to see how a process of correcting or setting a right can change our lives, our families, and our society. The Ho Oponopono prayer can be offered to any aspect of life not working out or incomplete. Past grievances, especially involving people one hasn't forgiven, experiences one hasn't let go of, etc. One dedicates oneself sincerely from the heart and soul to each incident one can find and to all people one has hurt and has been hurt by. Once true forgiveness has arisen from the original state, one can find a new sense of wholeness and completion. A person may reprogram their brain to see their life and background in a whole new way. The practice can help see, dissolve, and release old experiences, especially the roots of which came from childhood. Say it over and over to let go of old baggage, resentment, and negative energy. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And it's amazing. It's amazing because if it can get deep into the heart and beyond the resistance of the statement, which may be true, that offering forgiveness to someone who has been in the wrong or to someone you never met because they lived 1,000 years ago, and apologizing, that it's not deserved. If you can move past that and also recognize, of course, that forgiveness has nothing to do with the person that you're extending it to, but about letting go and freeing yourself from that burden. It just brings you into this alignment of peace. It was a really powerful practice that I used to do for a brief period, and it just kept resonating in my head. And I felt like I needed to bring myself back into that because I felt a little bit like when you roll around in the negative and it feels really good. Yeah. In several areas of my life, guys. So that's where I'm at. And that's why this sweet little guy dressed all in white and the most innocent of innocent babies in my collection was perfect. And he looks so beautiful. I love him in white. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that before, but I thought I would share because it's been on my mind, and I want to be happy, and I want to be true to what I think I'm capable of being. Yes. So just a little soft and gentle Saturday evening sharing, and a little changing of this little nugget of deliciousness. And I'm going to wrap him up in his new little swaddle. Why don't we do that now, actually? And I love that I got these ribbons. I can make some cute little headbands for the girls. So each of the babies, not Sparrow, although I actually wish I had gotten one more for her because these are so nice, but I don't necessarily need any more blankets. They're really, really nice. I may get a couple more, maybe next month, but I think I paid $8, so. No, I know I paid $8, so it was very, very reasonable. Come here, Pope. Oh. Oops, not your face. It had been so long since I had learned to swaddle from my mom with my baby dolls that Michael actually retaught me how to swaddle with my first reborn, Norman Walker. And he really, I think, liked doing that because he was such a hands-on dad. So just being, and he loves sharing knowledge and things he's good at. I'm sure I'm maybe not as good at it as he is, but I think it'll end up looking all right. My little peanut. All right, I hope I did well. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you've been enjoying your weekend. Yes, and I'm sure we'll be back before too long. Sending out lots of love. Bye, guys.